Hi, everyone. Shane Shanahan here. I am a percussionist, composer, arranger, and founding member of YoYo Ma's Silkroad Ensemble, and I am incredibly happy to be here with you to celebrate the release of my new album, Audacity Live, which comes out May 23rd. See you soon.
Hey, everybody. What a great intro you did there, Shane. You are a pro. And you even gave us a little doo-doo-doo. But there's more to come, folks, because he's going to play live. He's got a little ditty he's prepared for us. Shane is a Grammy-winning percussionist, composer, arranger. You know him, of course, from working many, many years with the incomparable YoYo Ma, of course, as a percussionist and so much more in Silkroad Ensemble. He's one of the co-founders, artistic directors, and he has also prepared a lot of other music for a lot of other entities as well. We're going to talk about that. He's got an illustrious musical career, and as I mentioned, he's a Grammy Award winner. Shane, welcome to the Jim Master Show, my friend.
Thank you. So great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is all mine. Congratulations, too, on the new music. I know, as I mentioned, you were with YoYo Ma and company for many, many years, and so much great music and so many phenomenal, stellar, highly noted and revered performances. And then you wanted to branch out and sort of do your own thing, which I know isn't always an easy thing to do because you have this wonderful relationship with the gang, but it was your time, and congratulations on doing that. I know it's not always easy stepping out, but you've always done so many other things in addition to Silkroad Ensemble, right?
Yes. Well, that's the nature of being a freelance musician, I think, especially in New York, is that you find yourself in a lot of different situations musically. And that's one of the wonderful things about being here in New York, is you get to work with incredible people. And a lot of the greatest musicians from all over the world end up coming here. So it's really a wonderful place to be. And it's always been a balance of doing the stuff with the Silk Road and doing some, freelance stuff, some of my own things, playing with a lot of other great artists, doing some stuff on Broadway. So it's always been a big mix, and as well as teaching and a lot of other things as well. So yeah, it's a nice varied career that I've enjoyed.
It's a nice varied career as well. And I want to let everybody know, he talks about a varied career. He is right. He's combined his studies of drumming traditions from around the world with his background in jazz, rock, and Western art music to create his own unique, highly sought after style. And since 2000, he had been, of course, touring around the globe, performing with YoYo Ma, the incomparable YoYo Ma, as a founding member of the genre-defying Grammy Award Winning Silkroad Ensemble, served as co-artistic director from 2017 to 2020, learning programs advisor 2012 to 2020 for the organization. In addition to playing his arrangements and compositions, they are featured on several of the group's 7 recordings, and he can be heard and seen on Mr. Ma's Grammy Award-winning holiday CD, DVD release, Songs of Joy and Peace. And Shane has performed or recorded with, and we mentioned this in our promos, it's incredible the amount of people that you've had an opportunity to perform with. Bobby McFerrin, the legendary Aretha Franklin, James Taylor, Philip Glass, Alison Krauss, Deep Purple, Jordi Savall, Sonny Fortune, Chaka Khan, Frisell and Glen Velez, and so many others, which is extraordinary just by itself. That's why I say you've done so many other things in addition to being with Silkroad Ensemble. And your dynamic performances have brought people literally to their feet in the greatest concert halls in the world. Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, and Santory Hall, Disney Hall, the Hollywood Bowl. Also performed for President and First Lady Obama, at the White House, and at the Kennedy Center Honors. And as you mentioned, teaching as well, you're a strong believer in the transformative power of education, presenting workshops and clinics around the world to leading universities like Princeton and Harvard and Cornell and the Eastman School of Music, Juilliard, University of Michigan. And you're also on the Hart School faculty. And I think that's fantastic. And also the lead teaching artist for Silk Road's Arts Integrated Educational Initiative. I have a great relationship with the Hart School. Matter of fact, I've emceed several of their wonderful events and know several people who've graduated from them up in Hartford, Connecticut. It's a terrific, terrific school. And you love being a part of that organization, huh?
I do. Yeah. The Hart School has been really transformative for me. I went there to do my master's degree. And the director of the percussion department, Ben Toth, was really generous in giving me a lot of different opportunities. And while I was there, he brought in the frame drum master, Glen Velez, as a guest teaching artist. And that was, again, transformative for me. I had worked with him a little bit, taken some private lessons, but when I was at Hart, I was really able to focus on my work with the frame drums and with Glenn and his whole really incredibly deep teaching method and playing method. So I was, it really sort of changed my path, because I had done my bachelor's at the Eastman School of Music in classical percussion, and then was doing my master's at the Hart School in classical percussion, also playing jazz along the way. But then when Glenn was there, I really focused on this other side of percussion that was, relatively new to me. I started off as a drum set player playing rock and roll, and then got into jazz and then Western classical music. But then this whole kind of world of percussion from other parts of the world kind of really changed my whole perspective of what was possible with percussion.
Now, were you a kid that was always banging on the pots and pans in your mother's kitchen and, taking the forks and knives and on the kitchen table or on the counters? Was that you? Were you that kid that was always turned on by all of that early on? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was me. I know, and it's hard to know where that comes from. Like, my family isn't particularly musical. There weren't people playing musical instruments in my family very much, except my grandmother did play piano. And I remember going to her house when I was very little and kind of crawling underneath her baby grand piano and listening to her play, and just feeling the vibrations of the instrument and the strings from underneath. I couldn't really put my finger on what it was at that time. I was really young, but I knew that it was something that was very important to me already at that time. And then I did just start banging on stuff around the house. And my favorite thing was to put a bunch of pennies inside a Tupperware container and play on top with wooden spoons. And that kind of gave it a nice buzz, almost snare-like quality to it. And then when I was 13, my parents made the mistake of getting me a drum set. So from that moment on, my fate was sealed. It was going to be drums for the rest of my life. So that's kind of how it started. And I was very fortunate to be supported by my parents through the whole journey. So.
And I bet very, very proud they have been in this journey, and to have an opportunity again to share your passion for it all. And you're incredibly talented. I could see why so many people are drawn to what you do, whether it was with Silkroad Ensemble or just your independent material. And of course, spreading the joy to young minds, which I think is amazing, because you also, as you're part of Silk Road Connect, brought music, dance, and visual arts into the New York City public schools, being a part of that. And you were a Blodgett Distinguished Artist at Harvard University, co-taught courses for the faculty there with them. And for the last several years, engaged in intensive work with students of all ages at the Lame Deer School on an Indian American reservation in Montana. And you collaborate actively with the dance, theater, and yoga communities in the New York area, while not on tour, teaching those drumming classes and lessons out of your studio in good old Brooklyn, New York, to students from 7 to 70 years old. And you've also played, get this, everybody, in the pit orchestras as well of several of your favorite Broadway musicals, including Caroline or Change, The Color Purple, Shrek, Spider-Man, Fun Home, Tuck Everlasting, and Mean Girls. Wow.
And also most recently, the Notebook musical.
Oh, the Notebook too. My God. Could you imagine, did you ever think all of these opportunities would come your way? And what would you say when you look at all this continuing body of work and all of these areas of the arts? What was one or two important, crucial moments that were door opening moments for you, so they sort of then got a chance to really see who you were, hear your music, and then say, we want to work with Shane?
Yeah. Well, I think that the kind of like the most again, sort of life-changing moment, I think, as I mentioned, was beginning my work with Glen Velez, who, for those that don't know, is the godfather of modern frame drumming. And he really acted as a mentor to me. And when I moved to New York, after studying with him for a while, gave me a lot of opportunities and passed my name to a lot of people. And that led to a lot of amazing opportunities. And that really blossomed from there. And I could trace almost all of my musical connections back to that, including the work with Silkroad Ensemble. That was a project that YoYo Ma was putting together, an ensemble that YoYo was putting together in 2000. And they called Glen because the first executive director was Ted Levin, and he knew Glen Velez, and he was helping YoYo put together the ensemble. So Ted called Glen recommended me, and then that was in 2000, 25 years ago. And so I've been involved with the group ever since, and have met a lot of amazing musicians through that as well, a couple of whom are also featured on my new album, Audacity Live, which is coming out May 23rd. And so it's been great to be able to work with all of these different great artists. And, when we musicians meet other musicians that we really enjoy playing with, we try to create as many opportunities to work with them as possible. And that was the case with this. When I was putting together this ensemble, I really wanted to incorporate a couple of those musicians from the Silkroad Ensemble, Kaoru Watanabe and Edward Perez. And so they're a part of the new album, in addition to some other fabulous musicians as well.
Like I said, you've worked with so many incredible people and continue to. What has it been like all these years working with the beloved and revered YoYo Ma?
It's fantastic. He's exactly what you think he is, I think, because he presents himself very authentically in all situations, and he's just incredibly down to earth and humble and modest, and always wanting to learn from other people. And that, I think, was a big part of the formation of the Silkroad Ensemble. Was he didn't want it to be the YoYo Ma band. He really wanted to use it as an opportunity to uplift everybody else in the ensemble. And it's been really amazing to see that, and to see the careers that all of the people that I started with 25 years ago have had. And it's I think one of the greatest things that YoYo does is he uses his name to bring attention to other amazing artists. So he really shares the wealth, and is, of course, an amazing musician, and has just always been very supportive of those around him.
Tell us about the extraordinary room that you're in. It's like a playhouse of all kinds of cool instruments I see on the shelves behind you. Tell us about that cool room you're in.
Yeah, so this is my home studio in Brooklyn, and this is just it's a space that I built when I moved into this building in 2010. So I bought this building with a buddy of mine from the Hart School, who was also a drummer, and we wanted to have a place where we could play, because, as you probably know, in New York, space is at a premium, and especially for drummers, we're not always the most popular tenants. So we wanted to find a place that we could have to ourselves. And we built this room, kind of a room within a room, dropped the ceiling, soundproofed the walls to try to make it as soundproof as we could. And, just kind of put all our instruments down here and stopped having to rent rehearsal space, practice studios. And this is where I collect and keep all of my instruments. As you can see back here, a lot of Middle Eastern instruments, these darbukas and these other frame drums here. And so Brazilian shakers and a South Indian tambourine called kanjura and a pandeiro from Brazil. And a lot of shakers and rattles. And then this setup over here, which I just used, did a pre-release show for the album that's coming out at Drome in New York City, and have kind of a hybrid kit that has like a bass drum and a djembe from my friends at the Wula Drum and Dance place, and then a bunch of other instruments here mounted on a rack. And then I have my drum set over there, and I dabble with guitar, so I have some amps and guitars down here as well. So it's just kind of like my little haven in Brooklyn, where I get to create, and rehearsed for the gig here as well. And it's just I feel very fortunate to have a really nice space here in New York.
Have you ever counted up how many instruments you actually play, Shane?
No, I haven't. I should, though. They're the people. You're not the first person to ask that, and I've never actually done it because it seems overwhelming to me.
Right. And are you always picking up new instruments? Are you finding rare instruments or instruments you never laid hands on, and they're sort of intriguing you, and you add them into the repertoire?
Yeah, I went through a phase of doing that in sort of like the early days of Silk Road, on the road a lot. Anywhere we would go, I would try to find an instrument and bring it back, and that resulted in a very large collection of instruments. So I've sort of stopped doing that as much, but it happens for sure.
I don't doubt. As I mentioned, you have also performed on some of the greatest stages around the world. What's that experience like for you? I've had the luxury of being involved in some of them through some of my work as an on-air host, MC, and things of that nature, and some work that has been tied with my years on PBS. Being master of ceremonies from major Christmas concerts, things of that nature. Tim Janis, a composer, is a friend of mine, and he's done these beautiful Christmas concerts in New York over the years at Carnegie Hall. And coming out on stage, whether you are the master of ceremonies or a performer, whatever it is, and just looking out at the beautiful audience and knowing how iconic that place is, I could say from my vantage point of doing it as a host and MC, is just absolutely glorious. Carnegie Hall for you and some of these other places, I'm sure the feeling, your feet sort of tingle a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. It's Carnegie Hall is sort of like the ultimate in concert halls in this world. And I remember the first time I went out there with YoYo, it was just kind of mind blowing for me, and to sort of. I had to pinch myself to sort of make sure that it was real. And part of the beauty of it is, not only that New York is my hometown, also just the acoustic in there is so beautiful and amazing. And it's, though it's a lot of people, I think it's around 3,000 seats. It feels like they're close. So it doesn't feel like a huge space. It still feels intimate in a way. And then, another amazing space was playing the Proms in London, where, they take out a lot of I think all of the seats on the orchestra level. And so the people are just standing at the front edge of the stairs, at the front edge of the stage. So they're super close. And that's a really exciting place to play as well. And the Hollywood Bowl too, of course, with that many people and that sort of really, energetic, responsive kind of audience is incredibly fun to play. And I also really love Jordan Hall in Boston, which has an amazing acoustic, which is where I played with Jordi Savall many years ago, doing Celtic music. He released a couple albums of Celtic viola music, and I got to accompany him on that, and that was a beautiful experience to be in that hall.
Well, with a name like Shane Shanahan, Celtic music is right up your alley. You have to, it's required to
Yeah,
dabble in that world. Like I was saying, a lot of the Irish contingent was very excited when they heard Shane Shanahan was coming on the show. And he does have a wee bit of Irish in him, folks. He's already confirmed that. You had it, like I mentioned, you have performed or recorded with some other iconic people like Bobby McFerrin, Aretha Franklin, James Taylor, Philip Glass, Alison Krauss, Deep Purple, Chaka Khan, and so many others. Tell us about some of those extraordinary experiences. Very, very cool.
Yeah, that's again, one of the amazing things about being in New York is that everybody comes through here, and you sometimes get these rare opportunities to perform with them, and that was the case with Bobby McFerrin. It was the Silkroad educational program that you talked about. We did a big concert in Central Park, and with I think 500 middle school kids from New York, from around the city, and Bobby McFerrin was a guest on that. And so we all got to perform with him, and he did a thing with the Percussionist that was super fun. And it was just to be around that kind of artistry is always inspiring, for sure. And then Aretha Franklin, that was a similar thing. It was later in her life, and it was an orchestra concert. She was doing kind of music with an orchestra, and so I was a part of that orchestra and got to play with her. So there's these certain icons that you sort of never think that you're actually going to be able to play with, and then you find yourself there. So it's been really exciting, for sure.
I described a little of your sound, in the introduction when I was setting up for our faithful viewers who are watching right now and commenting, and they're also welcoming you from around the world. They're so happy to have you here, and they're enjoying the conversation. We welcome all of our Jim Master Show viewers. It's awesome to have you here. Post comments, just celebrate with us. I'm so excited. It's giving me hiccups. Yeah, he's getting the hiccups here. Right. I could use whatever in that glass. He won't tell us what's in there, but I could use it. So I've been on the air since 7 o'clock this morning in my professional world. So a lot of talking today.
Yeah.
But, I think it's also really amazing that, you have this unique sound. How do you describe what that Shane Shanahan sound is?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it's just a combination of all of the different influences that I've had. As I mentioned, I started off, my first passion was rock and roll drum set playing, and I think that is still really deeply rooted in what I do. And I find myself still really tapping into those roots when I'm playing, when I'm composing. It comes out. And then, of course, studied a lot of jazz and was playing in jazz ensembles throughout college, and that taking jazz theory and arranging courses, and that all filters in, as well as the classical training that I did. And then getting deeply into frame drums and Middle Eastern percussion, and playing djembe, African drums. All those different studies really kind of meld together and come out in, I think a unique way. And I think that's the case with everybody. I know a big challenge for artists is trying to find your own voice. And I think for me, it's been about really letting all of these different influences and things that I've studied marinate, and then come out in a natural way. Because I think when I'm composing, and when I was composing the music for this new album, I wasn't thinking about any specific thing that I've studied. It's just kind of comes out in a organic way, I think. And that one of the tunes, the second single, Heavy Heart, I wrote during the height of the pandemic, and we were getting a constant news of the thousands and thousands of people who were dying, and I was sitting at home and like trying to deal with this trauma. And as an artist, it just starts to come out, and you don't know how or why or where it's coming from, but it's a way for us to kind of deal with that and cope with that. And that tune in particular is an attempt to deal with that grief and that trauma, and simultaneously trying to hold on to threads of hope. And so that was a kind of one of my struggles through the pandemic, was trying to deal with what was happening, but also hold on to the idea of hope.
Which is beautiful. What inspires you to create the music? Since we're sort of on that theme, are you an observer of life, observing things around you, nature, people, sounds, art? What inspires you to create the unique sounds you do, Shane?
Yeah. Well, I think like I just mentioned with the Heavy Heart tune, the things that are happening, in our world definitely influence and impact. And sometimes that expression is more a direct result from those things, like it was with this piece. Also, the title track of the album, Audacity, was inspired by the presidential campaign of Barack Obama, and of course his book, The Audacity of Hope. But also more his multicultural background and the way different places that his parents were from, the fact that he spent a lot of time in Indonesia, all these different cultural influences, and how important that was to so many people, and so important to see that, and to see him sort of fusing together those things. That is what inspired that song. So I tried to do a similar thing in that piece. And then I think hearing other great music is also always incredibly inspiring to me. And I'll hear something that I haven't heard anything like that before. So I try to, figure out what it is and what's unique about it, and how can I sort of strive for a similar perspective on creating something unique. And I think it kind of comes back down to like all the different influences that I've had.
Merlin's watching in Ontario, Canada. She says, do you have a favorite drummer yourself? Is there a few that stand out that you've always enjoyed?
Yeah, I think, just return to what I just said about people who find a unique way to express themselves and do things that have been done before, but do them in a unique way. I think, again, Glen Velez would have to be at the top of the list, because he's studied so many different traditions and created a tradition of his own, which is now has many, many disciples all over the world. But that came from a place of innovation. And I think another person who did that, who was really important to my development, was a guy named Trilak Gurtu, who's played tabla, the North Indian drums, and does it in traditional context, but also then started to do it in more like a jazz rock fusion context. And he would sit on the floor and play tabla, but he would kneel so that he could play the hi-hat with his left foot, and then play drums with his hands, and then play tabla with the other hand. And just the way that he was combining these different disciplines really was an inspiration to me to sort of try to figure out how I could do the same thing with my own specific set of influences. So those two, I think in particular, because of their innovative approach to music making, was very inspiring, and still is. And I think but then also, like I said, I came from rock and roll, so John Bonham was a huge influence for me, and then also the jazz world. So I got really deep into Philly Joe Jones and Elvin Jones, and a lot of the classic, Jack DeJohnette was a huge influence for me for a long time as well. So the list goes on.
The list goes on. What was it like playing at the White House and playing for the president and First Lady Obama? That must have been another pinch me moment, tingle feet moment for you, Shane.
Yes, for sure. It was. It's that was through the work that you mentioned with in Lame Deer, Montana, the reservation that I worked on for many, many years. And that was a part of the program. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but the Turnaround Arts, and it was a branch of another larger umbrella program through the government. And so the Turnaround Arts took us to that community in Lame Deer, and we worked with mostly middle school students at first, but then ended up working with elementary and high school students as well. But as a part of that program, we brought a bunch of those students to the White House and developed a performance for them with other schools from around the country that were also involved in this Turnaround Arts program, and created this performance that was showcased at the White House. And this was a project that Michelle Obama was very supportive of. And she was right there in the front row as we were performing this stuff. So it was incredible.
Sounds like, yeah, a fly on the wall for anybody that would want to be that fly on that wall moment for sure. We have a cut of the radio single from Audacity, radio single 1. We'll play that, and then we'll talk about it, and we can break it down a little bit for our viewers. We welcome everybody and all the love coming our way. And our very special guest is Grammy-winning percussionist, composer, arranger extraordinaire, Shane Shanahan, joining us from New York City. He's got the instruments around him. He's going to play live for you as well. We look forward to that. But first, here is a little bit from the album, and we're very excited about it. Take a listen.
Thank you.
Wow. Do you ever go for hand and elbow massages after that?
Yes,
There it is
definitely
again.
do that.
Little teaser there. Really, really nice. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. The vocal that is there, tell us, is that somebody that's part of the ensemble at your group as well?
Yes, that's Rupa Mahadevan. She's an incredible South Indian vocalist who used to be in New York, but has recently, I guess a few years ago now, moved to the Bay Area. So yeah, she's a fantastic vocalist, as you can hear, and is incredibly versatile. She's very well versed in the classical Carnatic tradition, but also does a lot of different things and is able to learn a lot of the crazy music that I write, even though she doesn't read Western notation, which is how I write this stuff. She's able to figure it out, and of course is an amazing improviser as well, and that's super important in the context of this group. And is able to just kind of integrate really, really smoothly and easily into any situation that I throw at her. So she's really a blessing to have. And the other thing that is great about working with her is that I don't have to write lyrics. So she's able to just vocalize and use the Indian syllabic system, like their version of solfege, to sort of create these melodies, or use her own vocalizations to really bring the music to life in a really interesting way that doesn't involve lyrics, which I enjoy that approach, because to me it leaves the music open to interpretation, whereas the words sometimes would kind of restrict or kind of force the listener into a certain thought pattern, and then so as opposed to using wordless vocalizations, kind of leaves it open to more interpretation.
It's really a great sound. Tell us about that particular piece of music.
Yeah, so that's the title track, Audacity, and that's the one that I was mentioning. It was inspired by Barack Obama's presidential campaign, and it kind of highlights Rupa. There's a section. So this is the radio edit, and this was a live album. So I created a shorter version of this, and in the full extended version, which you have to wait for until May 23rd when the album drops, Rupa, the vocalist, does sort of like an extended open solo in the middle, and then hands that off to Megan Gould, who's the violinist on it, and then she hands that off to Brad Shepik, who's the guitarist. And so it kind of goes from what you just heard then it comes down a little bit and then builds back up to this groove, and then the ending is sort of like the peak, the culmination with the percussion solo. For what you heard first is me soloing on a combination of frame drum and the djembe, African drum. And then I hand that off to Kaoru Watanabe, who then plays a solo on the Odaiko drums, which is the large taiko drum. And then previously he's playing the fue, this Japanese flute, on that. And then also Edward Perez is playing the bass. He's the one, he introduces the groove after that first intro. So it's kind of, again, it's about that concept of integrating a lot of different cultural influences, as Barack Obama has done. And that was kind of where the piece came from.
Really, really nice work, my friend. And you want to play a little something for our viewers who are very enchanted and loving everything that they're hearing. And
Sure.
we've been sprinkling a few of the live comments. We're coming at you live right now under the screen there on the screen. So tell us about the instrument, he and I were chatting before we went live on the air. And I said, my God, that would make such a terrific Frisbee in the park. But for him, I'm sure, because he's laid a few dollars down, it's probably like a boomerang. He throws it, but then it comes right back to him. Yeah. Tell us about that cool instrument and what you're going to play for us.
Yeah, it never gets far from my sight. So this is a frame drum, and a frame drum is a large category of instruments that comes in a lot of different forms, but it's believed to be the oldest drum or membranophone instrument with a membrane stretched across it that humans ever created, dating back at least 5,000 years. And it's super simple construction. It's just a frame of wood with a skin stretched across the top. And then, you know, it's found all over the world. Almost every culture has their own version of it. You know, I have a couple of different versions here. This is a Iranian daf. So you can see it's got chains on the inside, so it gives you a whole different kind of sound. There are some that have sort of snares on them, like a snare drum. So it gives you kind of a buzz sound. Also, tambourines are an example of frame drums. So this particular tambourine is an Arabic style tambourine with very large jingles, so that you can play on the jingles actually with your fingers, as well as get shaking sound. And then on the head as well. So that's also a frame drum. This guy is modeled after a South Indian tambourine called kanjira. Traditionally a lizard skin. This one is made by my friends at the Cooperman Company up in Vermont. Has a synthetic head on it, one little jingle, and the head is on the looser side. So when I squeeze it with this hand, I can change the pitch of it. So that's one of my favorites. But my actual favorite is just this large frame drum that's, again, super simple. And because it's large, it has a really nice resonance to it. And I'll just play a little bit on here for you as well.
That is absolutely amazing. And the last sound that you made almost sounds like it's a completely different instrument. It's amazing the sounds that can make, really tremendous. What do you do for preparation physically, mentally? I'm sure a lot of physicality to it. So when you pick up these instruments and you go in the studio or on stage and you're playing for a long time, you're ready to go. The fingers, the elbows, everything's operating. What is some of your prep like prior?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that I probably should focus on more. but I do try to do stretches. I sort of have a routine of stretches that loosen up, especially the tendons in the forearms and the fingers and the hands, things like this that sort of really get in there and get everything activated and try to get the blood flowing. And then just warming up on the instrument itself, trying to play slow stuff and work slowly, gradually increase the speed. Also just kind of like shoulder stretches and things like that. And then, I just try to stay healthy and exercise. And I think one of the things that the singing that I was doing, the throat singing, singing with the drum is something that has also really opened up my physical connection to the instrument, because it kind of forces me to breathe. And I think as a percussionist, and as a lot of musicians experience who don't play wind instruments or brass instruments where they're using their breath to create the sound, it's often very easy to forget about the breath and not think about it. And that was happening to me a lot. And I was realizing that a lot of times when I was playing, I was breathing in a very shallow way and not even really conscious of it. But then when I started doing the singing with the drum, it really forced me to focus on the breath. And that really, I think, deepened my physical connection, because I was conscious of it. And of course, when you're breathing slowly and deeply, you're relaxing your whole body and your whole spirit. And that comes out in the music. So I think that is something, that I also try to do, obviously when I'm playing, but also before any performance, is just breathing, nice, slow, deep breaths.
It's one of the greatest things that any of us could ever do, right? Is sometimes we're rushing around all day long and we're hyperventilating, and we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, ahead of the flood waters, ahead of the tide, ahead of the wind, ahead of the bills. Those never stop, but always trying to be ahead of everything. And you really need to sometimes just stop and breathe from the diaphragm. Medical professionals tell you to do that. Others tell you to do that. Stop and breathe, because it's one of the great things that you can do for yourself, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And whether you're doing what you do or not.
Yes. Yeah. Incorporating yogic breath. I've done a little bit of yoga, and trying to really breathe into the belly first and then fill up the lungs allows you a nice long deep inhale, and that's something that I try to incorporate while I'm playing as well.
What are some other things, in addition to the new music that's coming out, and congratulations on Audacity Live? What are some other things that you're very excited about, maybe that you're working on, or they're coming up for you, Shane?
Yeah, I think the process of writing new music is ongoing, and so this album just came out and or is about to come out, and we did like I said, the pre-release show last week, and so it feels like this set of songs is in a really nice place, and so now I'm sort of like shifting my focus to writing new music for perhaps another album that might come out in a little while. And just super excited about this particular ensemble and this collection of people and instruments, and excited to explore it more. And then I'm also have started working with the great Amjad Ali Khan, who's a sarod player from North India, and his two sons. And that is a project that we're hoping will turn into some more opportunities. And that's a really exciting thing for me, to work with those amazing Indian musicians. And then I also, you mentioned the Broadway stuff. I will be doing another Broadway show coming up in the fall. That's always exciting to get back into that world, which is fun. And then, just continuing to get this music out there, get other performances of this happening, and, exploring other new relationships. And that's the beauty of New York City, is that there's always new musicians to play with. So.
Absolutely. Why do you love doing this so much? Why does it fill your cup and bring you such blessing and joy, Shane? It obviously does.
Yeah, it really does. The why is kind of difficult to put my finger on, but I think it's because of that enjoyment, and it just feels like, especially with these instruments, that the frame drums, there's, as I mentioned, such an ancient history, that it's a spiritual history too. The drums were used a lot for religious ceremonies and connecting with the spirit world and communicating with ancestors and things like that. And that connection feels very, very important to me. And I kind of explore and express a lot of things through music, I think. And that's kind of my way of dealing with a lot of things, I think, from a time I was very young.
Therapeutic, cathartic.
I mean, what's more therapeutic than playing the drums, playing rock and roll on the drums? Like, for me, when I was a teenager, that was a huge release and a huge escape from everything. And also then when I found the frame drums, I was in conservatory and was doing all the classical music study, and it's super intense and super stressful. And I enjoyed that, but I also found the frame drums to be a really great release and escape from that. And I think it's these instruments have helped me reconnect with that love, that initial love of music, for creating it, and expressing myself, and then connecting with other people too. It's also a very communal instrument that's often played in groups, and that shared music making is super powerful and important. And I think that from the time that I started performing with YoYo Ma, and I saw the impact that music had on people, and to be able to connect with that many people at that level, it really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that this is something that it is really impacting the lives of other people, and it's bringing other people joy, and it's making other people feel good, and it's an escape for other people. It's a way for them to leave their everyday lives behind, and that has also been a really important, I think, motivating factor for me in creating music.
You're involved in teaching and inspiring others. What would you say to somebody that's watching and seeing a Shane Shanahan and hearing about all of these incredible accolades and performances and the hard work and all of the time it's taken? Nothing is overnight. If you really care about it, you keep plugging away and fine tuning, get better and better, and collaborate and grow with everybody. What would you say to somebody, or what is something that you probably say to students to encourage and inspire them if they're looking to get into these lines of work and into the arts?
Yeah, I think, I might even take a step back, and a message to all younger people, or not even younger people, just to all people, is it doesn't have to be music or the arts. Just finding something that you're passionate about is incredibly important. And that is what will make a difference in your life. And I see that in adults that I know. And when they find the thing that they really love, whether it's music or math or cooking or anything, it's really that spark of passion that people feel that really changes things for them. And I think this is something that I've dealt with a lot in sort of like the educational programs that I've done, especially in city schools and things like that. Also out in Lame Deer, is like trying to find that thing that each individual is passionate about, and then trying to cultivate that and turn those people into lifelong learners, where they're going to be inspired to continually progress and develop and grow. I think those are the things, and that sometimes takes exploration. Some people, I was lucky, I found it when I was very young, and knew immediately that that's what I was passionate about, and that's what I wanted to spend my life doing. Some other people, it takes a longer time, but it's just exploration and being open to trying different things, and really being tuned into yourself and what turns you on and what you're passionate about.
Beautifully said. Like you said, it applies to all aspects of life, and you're never too young or too old to pursue those dreams and passions and share it with the world, which you don't want to keep it a secret. You want to share it with all of us because we're inspired by it all, and we all have gifts and talents to share that should be embraced and celebrated. And Shane Shanahan, you've certainly done that and continue to do it, my friend. It's really beautiful work you're doing that touches at the core for people, and they can't get enough of it. And that's why all of these other incredible talents want you a part of their groupings and association and collaborations and sharing the studios and stages with them, which I think is beautiful while you do your own thing. A real treat to have you on the show, my friend. Absolutely, to learn more about you and celebrate your work and everything that you do, and the time with, of course, with Silkroad Ensemble and your amazing music on your own, including the upcoming Shane Shanahan Audacity Live. You heard a little exclusive preview clip that Shane had shared with us here on our show, which we really appreciate. We thank everybody who's been commenting and celebrating, all these fabulous comments coming in here as well. And everybody, when you played, were saying, wow, that's amazing, so talented, incredible. All those beautiful comments. We thank all of our viewers as well. And we've been showing the website. You can go to the website. It's a great website. It's updated. It's fresh. There's always cool things happening there. The music as well, Spotify and all the typical places for music. They'll be able to find that, Shane?
Yep. It'll be streaming. It'll be available. You can purchase the download on my website, and I think eventually there might be a few CDs we're actually making as well. If anybody is into that,
some are doing vinyl too, and even cassettes. Cassettes coming back. I'm happy to hear that because I still have boxes of mine.
Right.
And I have all the albums, and I have reel to reel and whatever format, working in television and radio. We have access to all of that. Sabrina watching, great question. She wants to know, do you teach in New York City or on Zoom?
I do both of those things. I teach out of my home studio here in Brooklyn, and then also on Zoom. So wherever you are, if you're interested,
make connection, right?
Yeah. You can reach me through that website or find me on social media. Also wanted to mention that the album will also be available on the Bright Shiny Things website, which is the record label that this is being released on. So it's yet another place to find it.
What a great name, huh? Bright Shiny Things.
Yeah, it's great.
We need more of that in our world about now.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, you can find it there, and you can find me on my website or at Shanahan Drums on Instagram and also Facebook.
Cool stuff. Great having you with us. Come back and see us again. I tell all the guests we keep the porch light on for them so they can come and return, even if you just want to drop by and say hi. And really amazing to have you here. You're a very talented guy. And thanks for your generosity of time. Shane, spread the word about our show. And I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you. Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Jim. You're very welcome. And congratulations on the new music and all the very best. And we'll talk again soon, my friend. Okay. Hope so. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Shane Shanahan, Grammy-winning percussionist, arranger, composer, stopping by the Jim Masters Show to share some fantastic music. We appreciate him being with us. What a great special guest. Great shot of him there, of course, with Silkroad Ensemble, with YoYo Ma. And there is his new music. You can go to his website. Got to hear a little clip of it as well. Again, he's very talented. He's worked with so many people. And he has, of course, his own repertoire of fabulous music that he has also penned and plays. And it's really cool stuff. We always try to bring you the best of so much here on the Jim Masters Show. And our dear friend Anita says, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, Anita. We love Anita. She's watching in New York City, and it's always great to have her here. I think she might be watching out on Long Island, our own stopping grounds. And Sherry, you can see this in the archives. A really great show. He played live for us. It was really epic. So you can see anybody that's joining us late, you can see it in the archives because we archive everything on our YouTube channel. couple of comments coming in from Merlin in Canada. Thanks, Shane, for entertaining us. And Maureen, this has been an epic episode. Shane, thank you for sharing your gift with us. Come back soon. Kathleen in New York City, thanks for being here. Shane, you're an amazing talent. Love this. Thanks for sharing your music with us. Absolutely. Got a chance to probably learn maybe about somebody new. Oh, you know his music, you've heard it, but maybe learn a little bit more about the person behind the drums, behind the percussion, and all the great music as well. Yeah, check out the archives. We archive all of our episodes on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And also, we would love it. It takes a village. So spread the word about the Jim Masters Show Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series and give this episode a thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Next to the episode is a big, big thumb. Make sure you click the up one. Up Jim Masters Show. Click the up and share this on your social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Jim Masters TV, over 5 years of episodes and 1,300 shows and counting so far, which is amazing. And if this was your first time here watching us on the Jim Masters Show, we always have a good time here coming at you live today. We welcome all the new viewers and subscribers and all of our faithful JMS lovedies watching and sharing. We also hear from you all the time. You guys text and you're on my social media at Jim Masters TV. Come see us there. And you send private emails, and we hear from everybody around the world, and we love it. And don't forget to leave a comment below, too, if you enjoyed this episode. So for all of us here, Jim Masters here, and we're very excited to have so many of these great guests who come through JMS and celebrate what they do with us. And we thank Shane for joining us here on the show, and we thank you for joining us as well. Jim Masters here, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, we love you and appreciate you being here. Spread the word, and it's always great when you're here in Lovely Hall at the Jim Masters Show. Take care of one another. Don't forget to love one another, and don't forget to do the very same for yourself. We say that all the time when I remember to say it. There's always a lot going on here at JMS Central. And be well, everybody. We'll keep the porch light on for you as well. I'm Jim Masters. Take care and be well. And cheers.